Black heroes have greatly influenced our community of Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Working for inclusion and equity for all. In this unique Black History Month series, brought to you by Family Fuse and the Black Council of Windsor-Essex, we highlight some of those leaders and pioneers, shedding light on their contributions and the legacy upon which we stand. Today, we introduce you to Patricia Neely-McCurdy, who, I reveal with full disclosure, I also proudly call my mom. Patricia Neely-McCurdy is a civil rights activist, educator, and artist. She was one of the co-founders, although not credited, of the Guardian Club, the purpose of which was to reveal discriminatory housing and employment practices in Windsor in the 1960s. This evolved into the Windsor Human Rights Association, a precursor to the Windsor and District Black Coalition, which catalyzed the formation of the National Black Coalition of Canada. Also an artist, Ms. Neely-McCurdy created a Black history display at the University of Windsor called From Slavery to Freedom that seeded the idea for the National Black Historical Museum, now the Freedom Museum in Amherstburg. She started and developed the interior design program at St. Clair College, making it at one time the only 3-year accredited interior design program in Canada. She also self-published a book on African influences in North American architecture, a subject very dear to her heart. In recent years, Patricia helped to revitalize the Our Day Study Club, the longest-running nonprofit Black female-driven organization in Canada, whose mission is to encourage children to achieve in school by offering scholarships for students entering post-secondary programs. She has long fought anti-Black racism in area schools, something she still engages in, and is currently a member of the Essex County Black Historical Research Society and a revered elder with the Black Council of Windsor-Essex, where she lends her wisdom in an advisory capacity.
Well, I'd have to say my mother, really, because she worked with the church, and she was always helping other people out, and she invited people to the house who didn't have the wherewithal of everything that they should have, and she'd take care of people who needed care. One was writing my book. It took me a little while to do all the research, but it was something that no one else was interested in at that time. And it was about houses, architecture. And I wrote a book on Buxton and the architecture there and the architecture in another settlement next to Buxton that came there in the same time period, and found out that they built their houses differently. So that asks the question of why are the houses different from one settlement to the other? So by studying the architecture in both of the settlements and finding where the people came from each of the settlements, I found that indeed the people who came to Buxton from the Underground Railroad brought with them the architectural memory from the States and from Africa. The fact that I had 4 children and alone as a parent, raised the 4 children, sent them to school, and watched them all graduate from university. I started growing up during, shortly after the Depression. And during that time, most people were thought of as poor. But as I grew older, I realized that the people coming out of the Depression really weren't poor, as we look at people now who we think of as being poor, because we had land and we could provide for ourselves by farming, and we learned to use our hands to sew and to cook and to make things. But nowadays, young people don't use their hands too much. Most of them don't know how to sew, to cook, or to make things, but they can use the computer. So I would say they should look back to their history and see what allowed people of color to make it through each of the generations that we made it through, and to see that it's not people that hold them back, but it's a culture, it's a society. And they should know what that society is about, all facets of the society. And that way they can realize who they are and what they could do. I know my father used to tell us that we could do anything we wanted to do if we wanted to do it bad enough. And that's what you have to learn to do. And you have to learn to love yourself and to realize that even if you do not make it the first time, keep going. Because that's what gives you the goal that you want to make. You've got to keep going, and you'll finally make what you want to do.